Hi, everyone. I just wanted you to know that Satan is here with us tonight.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Lucifer, gonna possess you, or something like that. We'll see. All right.
What's up, Flick fans? Welcome back to the channel. Late Night with the Devil himself. That's the brand new movie out. David Dastmalchian is our star. This is a lower budgeted horror film. It's a Shudder original, and there are about 10 different logos that pop up when the movie starts, so it's untelling which studio's at the forefront. It's like the Family Guy meme. I thought I was being punked after the first 3 logos.
Jack Delroy! Oh, good evening, night owls, and thank you for allowing me into your living rooms once again.
So a live television broadcast in 1977 goes horribly wrong, unleashing evil into the nation's living rooms. This film is rated R. For violent content, gore, language, one sexual reference. Just one, Austin? Darn. Can we start with David Dastmalchian? Who? Oh, he's the guy from The Dark Knight and Ant-Man and Suicide Squad, and he was in Dune for like 3 seconds, but he's always giving an amazing performance no matter how big or small the role, and I've always said, I want to see this guy at the forefront of a movie, and regardless of what the budget is or the genre, this feels like the perfect vehicle for him to act on a level that we knew he was capable of, but this may be my favorite performance of his. He gets to lead the film. He's incredible, and I love how he shows emotion through his eyes, whether he's in front of the live studio audience and he's got to put on that facade, or we're in the midst of these behind-the-scenes sequences and he's going back and forth with the producers and the people saying, all right, I don't know what's going on, but let's keep it going. We got to keep those ratings up, baby. Got to boost those numbers. Those are rookie numbers. Screw Carson. It's Jack Delroy's world, baby. We're just living in it. At least that's how he's always wanted it to be. And as hard as he's tried and as high as he got up in the ratings, he was just never able to take down the top dog. He's gotten close, but there are some things in his personal life that have happened that kind of pushed the show down. So when we start this episode, and that's what this movie is, it's a live episode of this show, but it's a very interesting one, being it's maybe the last one.
What do you mean by that?
Look, all of this is explained to us at the beginning of the film, but I love how we dive into the history of it all, or the fake history, kind of describing his past and what he went through, and how we can apply that using our brains to what we're about to see. And even though we know something crazy is about to go down during this live late-night talk show, we still don't know how or what or why or how, I said that, kind of how it applies to the characters that are involved. And we'll talk about some of these supporters here in just a second. But again, you know, coming on using that live talk show voice, he does it brilliantly, playing off of his audience and all of those, you know, late 70s, early 80s television show cliches. Just to nail that look is one thing. I believe they do that justice, but also to put visual effects, which we utilize in the third act of this film, on top of that. It does occasionally, and just to get into one or two of the negatives, it does occasionally feel jarring because you can tell this movie was done on a lower budget. So some of the special effects, they're not perfect. There's a bit of cheese to that, but there's also a bit of cheese to this entire premise, so it kind of goes along with what it's doing. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. I like when a horror movie occasionally veers into ridiculous, into the silliness of it all, and it takes these moments that could be absolutely terrifying, has a nice little spin on them. Now, I believe when we get to the third act, these very integral moments that I'm speaking of, they're trying to make them as scary as possible while sticking to that tone that we've had throughout this entire thing. So a little bit of silliness that goes, you know, kind of overboard there, but we're in the late 70s. A few things that caught me off guard in the midst of this third act that didn't exactly terrify me. So in that way, I look at the payoff, at least what I assumed was the payoff, and I say, I was a little underwhelmed with that aspect of the third act, and you'll know it when you see it. Some people are going to eat that up, man. And if you're a fan of this type of thing, you're gonna love what happens all throughout the third act. And I really appreciated what they went for. Didn't fully pay off for me until we get to the final sequence. And not to skip too far ahead, but I'm doing it because we're here. We made it.
You can do it!
There's a shift at the end of this movie where we're doing one thing and then all of a sudden we're doing something different. For a lot of people that will be jarring. For a lot of people, they're going to prefer the thing that I ultimately don't prefer, and they're not going to like the thing that I ultimately like. But I really like how they ended this movie. This is one of the most satisfying endings, final sequences of a film that really ties it all together, that really brings all that we have been doing this entire movie together and fits the puzzle pieces strategically and makes for a satisfying ending. One that I was fearful for as we were getting to it, because I'm like, man, I hope they at least end this on the right note, and they did. They ultimately did. Kind of surprised me, but at the same time, it felt as if it was what they had to do to make for a somewhat satisfying, well, I say satisfying, it's a horror movie. How satisfying could it be? But for me, what I was looking for, it was satisfying. And the movie just oozes originality across the board. Now, I know there's the debate going on, specifically on Twitter, talking about the 2 or 3 or 4 AI images that are used in this movie. And for me, yeah, of course, I wish they would not have done that in the movie. It didn't take away my enjoyment, though, and it doesn't make me look at everyone else involved, the makeup artists and those behind the production design and the writers. I'm not going to look at them and scoff, because there is just so much creativity within this very simple idea, very Blair Witch-esque idea, mixed with the talk show look and feel of this entire thing, and that's what it is. It's an episode of the show. Now, when they start to go behind the scenes, and we're getting that footage as well, and they tell you that at the beginning of the movie, that's when my brain starts to go, well, the cameras are kind of strategically placed where they're getting conversations, whereas in real life, the people on camera would have been like, yeah, go away, you're not supposed to hear what we're saying. And so that was a little bit of a reach. Don't get me wrong, I like the look and the feel of the behind-the-scenes footage, and I'm glad we got it. Without that, there would be so many plot points that wouldn't have made as much sense, but at the same time, the way that they explain that to us in the beginning and how we ultimately receive it, it felt like two different things, a bit of a disconnect there. Beyond Dastmalchian, you have Laura Gordon, who plays June. She's an integral character. I liked her presence, as well as her sidekick. Ingrid Torelli, who plays Lily. She has the demon inside of her, and that's kind of the crux of the entire film. When that starts, when the freakiness starts, I'm sitting back going, all right, this is getting good. Carmichael's a pretty fun character. There's always someone in a movie like this that doesn't believe in what's going on and the way that they use that, and he's trying to continuously prove points. That was pretty fun as we were going throughout this film. You have Gus, who's like the Andy Richter of this show, but I swear, every situation, I'm like, yeah, I would have been Gus there. I would have just tried to run away as quick as possible.
I gotta get out of here! Too late!
This movie is just a vibe, man, because everything that happens is happening in front of a live studio audience, so you get the gasps and a couple of sound effects in there that we've heard 1,000 times. I wish they would just create new gasp sound effects, or maybe it's just a thing at this point, but still. But the crowd reactions are great. The fact that this is being live streamed to everybody at home, and then you're really put in the shoes of the people watching at home, and you feel like you're there. There's a hypnotic or a hypnotizing scene in this film, and he's like, look at the thing, and I don't want to look. I don't want to look because I feel like I'm there. And there's also just this creepiness of Jack's past and what he brings up, what he takes part in, and how he gets to this point. And that's ultimately why I loved the ending, because I'm like, yeah, that's how you achieve fame and fortune, to see what he goes through. You could apply that to real life. And then some things that he's talking about, I'm like, yeah, now it's getting real weird. If you watch the movie, you know what I mean, right? Part of what makes it more horrifying and realistic, I guess. So is Late Night with the Devil terrifying? Not in the way that you may expect, and you may think it's even a little goofy at times, but by the time you get to the end and you think about the experience that you just went through in its own weird way, yes, but more so, it's creative. It's a good one to watch with the crowd. David Dastmalchian is awesome. And our directors, Cameron and Colin, really fantastic job. I can't wait to see what they do next, especially on this type of budget. That's just awesome. Before I give you my score, what's the best horror movie of the year so far? And what's one that you're looking forward to later on? And if you enjoyed this video, dropping a like is the best way to tell me that. Also, subscribe, because I review everything. Late Night with the Devil is so ridiculously creative from start to finish. The unnerving build buildup throughout this talk show setting is handled so meticulously. While some of the scares do creep into ridiculous territory, everything changes within that final sequence. It is one of the most satisfying horror endings I've experienced in quite some time. Clearly, I had a good time with this movie, but it's like my cup of tea, and I love ideas like this, really original ideas, and I really appreciate everybody involved with this film. Again, I encourage you to see this one in the theater later on today. Ghostbusters, check out some other reviews here.